And we're going to be discussing, of course, the big psyop here in Canada, the massive false flag that they've carried off in the nation's capital with our good old friend here, Michael Z. Half, Bebo, right? And what I'm talking about right now is, where does this photo come, this iconic photo? Because it's the only photo of Michael Z. Half Bebo that exists. There is no other photos of him. Even though his mother came on here and was happy to provide all kinds of information, saying, hey, look at this, Ottawa shooting by Michael Z. Half Bebo was the last desperate act of a mentally ill person. So his own mother throws him under the bus. Of course, she buys the whole story hook, line, and sinker, because we need crisis actors. They need to get paid, and family members need to get paid so that they can, deal with the attention that they'll get, obviously. So this photo here, all right, this is apparently the original account that published the photo. This is Breaking.30. This is a French media person, right, who posted the first Z-half photo, right? Après 2 heures de vérification, source me confirme que cela ressemble au tueur. Prendre avec prudence. So what he's saying here is, after 2 hours of verification, a source has confirmed that this resembles the shooter, but take prudence, sort of thing, right? So now they've got this article on the National Post, which is the Post media. I mean, they own half the media basically in Canada, and they're all on board. You know that for sure, right? The media is the biggest part of this entire psyop. Without the media, you don't have a psyop. You need the National Post and the Grope and Fail to constantly brainwash the sheeple into believing that something horrible has happened, that you have to give up all your rights. That's how it works, folks. So they say here, first photo of Ottawa gunman taken by tourist who witnessed the shooting at National War Memorial. Now, what they're saying, of course, is that a tourist took this photo. Because, of course, you're a tourist. And, wow, wouldn't you want to get a photo of a guy who just shot somebody and has their gun up and pointed almost at you and is looking directly at you? I mean, the first thing you would do is reach for your camera and try to get his photo, because there's no chance in hell that he would ever decide to shoot you, especially since you're taking the only photo of him that will ever exist, most likely on the internet. And isn't it convenient how Z-half has half of his face? He has the lower half of his face completely covered. And the name Z-half, of course, it's meant to be ironic. Of course they do it like this, okay? Now, this guy, no one's going to know him from Moses, unless he goes around with this gun and his his bandana, his huge bandana tied around his face. Nobody's going to know him from Moses, right? He can go anywhere in Canada. Nobody would recognize him because he's only got Z-half of his face showing.
Okay, guys, here we go. And the evidence absolutely piles on here, folks. An absolute smoking gun. There are many, actually, in this sham. But this is the biggest smoking gun yet. And for all the skeptics and people in denial, looks like we were right again. As it turns out, in light of this alternate angle that is actually quite hard to find, because they usually show another angle not showing the fake CPR here. You can do a search for it, but dozens and dozens of other angles, the other angle will come up. But this one here proves without a shadow of a doubt that this whole CPR scene is 100% fake. And shout out to the first couple of people who brought this to light, Truth Frequency Media and Terrible Tim. Kudos to you guys. Awesome work. So links below for those guys. And, you guys deserve your recognition. Okay, first and foremost, I thought it would be a cool idea to read some great comments and points made by many commenters pointing out everything that is wrong with this scene. Okay, up first we have House of Logic 1969. I'm an ex-EMT from Los Angeles, and you are correct. No way would CPR be performed with the patient's hand/arm in the thoracic area. We would move it, bones broken or not, it gets moved to the side. Bradley, wrong, but this time you're right. His feet are also elevated. You can see his shoes. You don't do that with CPR. The victim must be flat to the floor. Indeed. Next up, My Outcat. Exactly, and you don't do compressions and mouth-to-mouth simultaneously when performing CPR. Exactly, as many are pointing out in the comments. Furthermore, the paramedics don't look especially urgent in their mannerisms during this quote-unquote emergency. Stress-free dates. Also, why is a military member and passerby performing CPR and AR when there is a trained EMT on the scene? Also, these two people are not communicating with each other to perform AR and CPR. They don't even appear to care what the other person is doing. Exactly. As you see, that's a great point. They both are not even looking at each other, not communicating. It's just a joke. Okay, to recap. Number 1, hands, arms in the middle of chest and not to the sides. Number 2, feet elevated, you must be flat. Number 3, compressions / mouth to mouth simultaneously is given. Number 4, no sense of urgency, no communication whatsoever. I mean, as you see here, the dude is just like pump, 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 staring into nothing, pump, pump, and just not looking at her, not communicating. Again, no sense of urgency. It's just like methodical, right? Almost like they're doing a drill, almost like it's a sham. Yeah.
Now we know the reason why this picture has been taken off the internet on so many places. As you can see here, the shadow cast by this lamppost is completely incorrect from the time given of the shooting. The shooting at the memorial was 9:52, yet this shadow denotes that it was well before 9:30. This is the Ottawa Expositor, and this has been blown wide open. Yes, hello everybody, this is Justin, the Ottawa Expositor of Free Radio Revolution. I hope everybody's doing well today. I'm taking a look at the picture here and the new damning evidence that has proved that this picture was taken well before the time of the initial shooting at the War Memorial. As you can see here, it's all in the shadows. We have a shadow gate, and basically, if it had been the time that they were saying, the shade would have been much closer to parallel with the sidewalk leading up to the Parliament. But no, we're well to the northwest. Well to the northwest. So it's looking much more like in between 9 and 9:30. And thanks to System Exposure, who has shown us and given us the link to the program that could show that. And I do have the links down below. And when you take a look and you punch in the postal code by, as you can take a look, it's actually quite Masonic. The address for Parliament is 111 Wellington Street, and all the Capitol buildings, they have a postal code that nobody else can use, and that's K1A. Now take a look up top. What does that spell out for you but 1111? But anyways, just wanted to point that out and how Masonic this whole place is in the first place. So as we take a look there, we have those guys, and it's obvious, very obvious, that it's far from being parallel to the sidewalk. And also, I have these two cars, as you can see here, that are completely out of place. And I'm going to tell you why they're out of place. See the place where it shows police on the side of the squad car, okay? And then the other 4 cars to the right, you can see it's just an emblem. Well, there's a reason for that. That's 2 completely different police forces. The ones on the right, the 4 cars on the right, those are RCMP. Now, those are the ones that properly protect, they are responsible for the security of the Parliament grounds. The other 2 on the left, they are what's called the Ottawa Police Service. And as I'm showing you here, these are the difference between the cars. And the reason why this is so important is that the Ottawa Police Service have absolutely no jurisdiction in that area. And I am serious when I say that. I remember hearing that from a police officer, so I checked it out. When I was speaking to them before, they let me know that. This was about 6 months ago, and I remembered it. When I saw those cars, I was very confounded, so I decided to take a look just to double check. And as you can see here, the Al Jazeera, it's talking about, we have Mr. Michael Kempa, Associate Professor of Criminology at the University of Ottawa and a specialist in policing and security. And he tells us that you have the Royal RCMP responsible for safety on the grounds. And the House of Commons Security Security Services, that's our Parliament building, for buildings under the jurisdiction of the Parliamentary House, the Senate Protective Service for the Senate, and the Ottawa Police Service for the surrounding streets. Now, I just want to make sure that it's very clear. Those roads that you see where those 6 cop cars are, okay, those are not technically surrounding streets. That is technically part of the complex. And they say, Al Jazeera goes on to say, while only vehicles for members of parliament, government ministers, or security vehicles can enter the complex after passing rigorous security. Okay, they have to go through checkpoints. These guys had no jurisdiction to be there. Listen, if there was an emergency and they were needed, I'm sure there was some type of emergency that they can do, that they can enter onto the property. But as we have shown here, this was well before that time. I used to go up there every single week, almost every single week anyways, and I've never seen the OPS there. Never, ever, ever. And as you can see, they're trying to they don't mention anything about that at all in any of these things. So the security services at Parliament Hill and all embassies in Ottawa are handled by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, not the OPS, as dictated by the Ottawa Police Service. That is their webpage on wikipedia.org. That is actually controlled by them, as you can see by the edits. You can take a look for yourself there. And that is essentially, that's the proof in the pudding. They had no right to be there. Absolutely no right. And initially, the Ottawa Police Service stated that they were investigating the shooting at the Canadian National War Memorial, while the RCMP was investigating at Centre Block. Well, that doesn't make any sense for why they're there, does it? Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And as you can see here, this was by The Guardian. Thank you, you fucking donkeys, because I love how Canadian journalism is so poor that they can't pick this stuff out. You can see here on the picture, in 1 second. Perfect, sorry about that, guys. Okay, so as it says here, armed officers from the Royal Mounted Police swarmed Parliament Hill after the incident. The RCMP shared jurisdiction of the area with House of Commons security and Senate security, while the area off of Parliament Hill is in Ottawa Police's jurisdiction. Now, it's funny, and down you see this picture here, and you have everybody rushing the Parliament building with the caption saying, armed RCMP officers approached Centre Block on Parliament Hill following a shooting incident in Ottawa. Well, that flag that you see there, that Canadian flag that flies strong and free like we all like to pretend, well, behind that, the paddy wagon there, that is an OPS. Take a look. It's not the same colors as RCMP, and I can show you right here. This is an RCMP wagon, okay? Looks nothing like it whatsoever. And also, here is one that's more like it. These are the colors of the Ottawa Police Service. So why couldn't they mention that? Because they're a bunch of liars. They are lying to you. Canada, you need to wake up. They are completely lying to you. Okay? Please take a look at that. And also, when you're seeing here, they have no problem showing it here. I don't know if they tried to do that, but as you can see, it absolutely is the Ottawa, and you can tell by the logo right there amongst the RCMP. So what are they doing there? What are they doing there? This is absolute bull crap, okay? And these are lies that you've been told. No one mentions anything of it. They try and cover it up. Well, those pictures are showing the proof in the pudding. Guys, your country, if you're Canadian, doesn't really matter because it's all in all different countries. This is just our chapter. They are trying to take your rights away from you. You must do something about this. They don't deserve jail time, okay? They deserve much worse. Whoever is involved with this knowingly, and anybody that's within the police force right now, I urge you, please, please come out with any information that can prove that these people are, well, prove to the common bystander or the common citizen that this is a total false flag. This is a staged event. This needs to be addressed right away.
This absolutely sinks the entire story 100%. There's no disputing this. Here we go. Exhibit 2. Finally, the irrefutable evidence. The one giant hole that sinks this alleged crazed terrorist rampage in downtown Ottawa of any of its buoyancy. Evan Solomon, who is a 100% scumbag and should spend the rest of his life behind bars of the CBC, reveals, to use his own words, details of exactly how the incident went down in Central Block in the Hall of Honor by the library. I made so much fun of this. I showed you the Sergeant at Arms, the old senior citizen who flew through the air, flying on his back, shooting at the same time, how ridiculous it was, playing the Terminator music in the background, right? Well, take a look at Google's virtual tour of the Parliament building at the exact spot where Evan Solomon conspicuously states the location of where the shooter was shot. And this is what you get. Taken April 2013. The numbers are beside the bullet holes. These markings, folks, where they tried to show you the 9 bullets, right? They love that number. Were already there in 2013. And this is 100% verifiable right here, folks. Here's the virtual tour, right? And you can see them. Let's see if we can zoom in. There they are, folks. There's the holes, the alleged bullet holes, right? You see what I'm saying? It's all was already there. Street View, 2013. Okay? And there was Evan Solomon here showing you, right? Showing you the bullets. And there are the bullets here. The markings that were already there. Who knows what they were there? Maybe they had something up against here and they pulled it out. It looks like well, if I show you here, looks like these two could have been a shelf or something. You know, who knows, right? Just some damage, whatever. Somebody nicked it or whatever. And they used these as bullet holes. This scumbag here, Evan Solomon, who should spend the rest of his life behind bars, as should the entire government that is behind this, CSIS, RCMP, the works. How dare they try to do this to you, Canada? Where is the outrage? Why can you show up with flowers and tears to these fake shootings and you can't respond with anger, legitimate anger to what they are doing to you when you see the truth right in front of your eyes?
When gunshots rang out at the National War Memorial in Ottawa on Wednesday, many ran for cover, others ran to help. They did whatever they could to try to save Corporal Nathan Cirillo's life, to try to calm him and reassure him. They were among the last to see him alive, and tonight they're telling their stories. Here's Tom Clark.
These were some of the first images of the attack. 5 total strangers had rushed to the aid of the slain guardsman, Corporal Nathan Cirillo. This was the first time that Barbara Winters and Margaret Leary had met since that day. They had come to the West Block studio above the War Memorial to tell their stories.
There was never a question of I can't, I'm scared, just the singular focus on Nathan.
But it was as they left the interview that the most incredible things began to happen. Out of the crowd, they spotted one of the other 5, Conrad Malkowski, and he told them that a 4th member of their group, Martin Magnan, was at the cenotaph. Another emotional reunion and another memory relived.
Not a whole lot was going through my mind. I just wanted to listen, look around, pay attention, and it was just a whole feeling of like, let's keep it together and let's get them through this.
They haven't found their 5th member yet.
Barbara, can you tell us when you first saw this young man whose life you tried to save yesterday?
I was on my way to a meeting, and I happened to have my digital camera in my purse, and I was a few minutes early for the meeting, so I just stopped, and I had just actually taken pictures of the 2 gentlemen standing there in honor, as the honor guard, and I was remarking to myself, what a beautiful day. It was the sun had come out, a clear October day, and there's a few clouds in the sky, but it was just a wonderful fall picture, and I got 2 pictures straight on of these gentlemen standing in front of the cenotaph, and then I have one with the apartment buildings in the background, and I had put my camera away, and I was walking away from the cenotaph and was down on Spark Street when I heard the shots.
And you turned around and you went back. Others were fleeing when they heard those shots. You returned. What was that instinct?
I don't know. Honestly, I like to say it's human instinct. I think it's human nature to run towards somebody to help them.
Well, it was for you. I'm not sure for everybody, but you weren't just running back to see. You had skills you thought you could bring, yes?
Yeah, I had served in the Naval Reserve for a number of years, and part of that service was as a medical assistant. So I thought that I could be of some assistance, and I hope I was.
You were part of a team, weren't you? I mean, you started it, and then you were giving instructions, but you worked very closely with a group of others.
I mean, I wasn't really giving instructions. It was a team effort. When I got there, there was a nurse there already, and the corporal who was with the 2 honor guards at the time. There's always a 3rd person with these honor guards. The nurse had her hand and was compressing one wound, and the corporal was compressing the other wound. There was a gentleman at his feet and another gentleman from the military at his head, and so I just slipped in between them.
can't imagine for you, especially if you don't mind telling us what it was like. You had just taken a photo of those two guards, and then shots had rung out?
No, well, yes and no. I had taken some photos and walked past them and was on my way to a meeting. I was on Spark Street, actually, just past the Canada Post building when I heard the shots. And I turned around and saw people ducking and running. No one screaming, though, no panic. And so I was aware of the news story from the previous day about the two soldiers being run down in Quebec. And so I immediately suspected that something had happened to the soldiers I had just passed. And so I ran back, and as I was running back to the cenotaph, I was looking for them because you know that those soldiers won't move. They will stay on guard no matter what transpires in front of them. So I figured if they were still standing, it was something else. But as I got closer, I didn't see them, so I knew that they had been the targets. And so all this is happening, in split seconds. But so I ran and I saw the soldier that had been hit, Corporal Cirillo, lying on the ground, and he was already surrounded by caregivers, people who were there to help him. And so I just dropped my bags and went to help. You could tell when I walked by the first time that both gentlemen, all three of the soldiers that were standing there, were clearly proud members of the military and proud Canadians to be standing on guard at the cenotaph.
That explains that, at least. Now, this woman here, as I said, is an actress, and, right, as you see, British-Canadian actress, manager, yoga personal trainer, right? Anyways, so, I found something here that's a little bit interesting. Thank you to whoever for leading the beautiful, loving practice to unite Ottawa. And thanks for joining Ottawa, Jim Watson, right? He's the mayor of Ottawa. And he's taking photos with this Megan Underworld girl. Now you might say, well, it's not that big of a deal, is it? Well, it's kind of. I mean, it's one of the big celebrities or one of the big politicians from the city of Ottawa. And just a couple days after the shooting, right? This is dated the 26th. So, 3-4 days after, they're taking nice, friendly photos with the mayor. Okay, not that big of a deal, right? He probably just stood there for a photo, but what do we got here? Glad you're sticking around. Jim Watson, Ottawa. Brunch at the Manx pub wouldn't be the same without you. So they went for lunch, right? So, he's the mayor of Ottawa. So these girls that took this photo are having lunch with the mayor of Ottawa, taking photos with him. I don't know, folks. Just a little bit suspicious, is it not? So, going back to this and all that, there's the photo, of course. This is the famous photo, the handsome guy and the pretty girl, and they all look happy as can be. Of course, it's supposed to be a terrible tragedy, and this here's apparently the last photo now. This is the last photo now. Now, you notice a lot of differences, right? Now, first things first is, what the hell is all this crap going around here? Because it certainly wasn't there just a couple days before that, right? 3 days before, it's not there. None of that's there. So why is all that there? And why is there police tape? There's tons of police tape, and it's all bundled up here. It looks like they've got a ton of police tape that they're ready to run with. They got a lot of barricades, and they got this tarpaulin with weights holding it down. Looks like there might be stuff underneath, right? It looks like, as you can see here, how it goes up. These are just steps. So why is there stuff under there? Why is there so much police tape? Why are there barricades? Why? Very good question, Ottawa. Maybe you can tell me, because of course when he was supposedly dying and the lawyer was giving him CPR, mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, and everybody else was jumping on top of him, you could see the barricades and the police tape. Do not enter, right? Entrée interdit. It's French there. Caution, attention. It's police tape. Then you had the police coming out and moving everyone away from the scene. Don't get too close. We don't want you to see what we're up to, of course, right? And then you had so many people around him, you couldn't even tell that there was somebody down in there because there's just a huge mess of people. This lady is practically lying on top of him. There's the police tape. You can see it clearly. The barricades and the weights holding down these tarpaulins, right? And the guy pointing and all that, right? So, just another photo with the guns, which are real guns, but had no bullets because of the ceremonial thing. And there you go. More photos of this whole thing. This is in the aftermath when they finally taken the body away. And you can start to see there's more police tape that's coming about, right? And they start putting police tape everywhere, of course, right? Then you get this police tape going all over the place. There they are, right? Spread across the city. They get tangled up in it, right? They're getting tangled up in it. So, just looking here. Hey, they're putting upside down. Yes, they're not too bright, right? They're the Keystone Cops. Look at this lady. Yeah, you can't even tell it's upside down, lady. Maybe you should take your sunglasses off. Doesn't really matter, though. It's all for show. So as you can see, all of a sudden, now you have barricades blocking off all this area. Kind of convenient that they had barricades nearby, right? I mean, if you really want to close things off quickly, if you have barricades, a lot easier, isn't it? And the police are out here on the street for some reason, and I guess they're looking for nickels or something. I don't know, right? But let's continue on here. So there they are, the police doing their stuff, right? Going down their hands and knees. I found a bottle cap, right? And of course, if you look here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 14. I see the number 14 there. That's a lot of bullet shells for a guy that was shot apparently a couple times. Why is there so many bullets? And there are the barricades, of course, and there's the tarpaulin, right? So this all caught my eye. I mean, I found this really fascinating. They had the police tape. Now all of a sudden you see the tape is all over now. It's been Just not just on that little part there, but it's been brought all around sort of thing, right? And the barricades, look at the barricades. All over the place now. Go figure, folks. And there's our scumbag leader here, Stephen Harper, and his wife, and they're going up to put their flowers for the fake event that they created. Right? Gotta look glum there, wife. I'm not so good at it, says Stephen. The flowers, right? The fallen soldiers, the mind control, the whole thing, right? Then, of course, here you see, right, lots of flowers, lots of mind control happening. Then all of a sudden, a couple of days ago, John Kerry shows up and all the tarpaulin's gone now, right? And you can see one barricade here and one barricade there, and then just a lot of flowers. Very interesting, isn't it? Right? So it goes from having, you go from having the barricades and the tarpaulin and everything, and then all of a sudden those are all gone, right? So the question I have for Ottawa is, what's the story with the barricades and the tarpaulin? Why was it there? What is the purpose? Why was there police tape already on the scene before he even got killed?
And of course, those shootings ended in a parliamentary hallway. Tonight, we can tell you precisely what happened in the drama's final seconds. Evan Solomon, host of Power and Politics, has our exclusive look at those details. Evan?
Wendy, CBC News has now learned the dramatic details of exactly how the shooter, Michael Bibeau, was finally shot and killed at point-blank range by the Sergeant-at-Arms, Kevin Vickers. Let me walk you through what happened. Here's the beginning. After exchanging gunshots with the parliamentary security team at the entrance of Centre Block, that's right here, Bibeau made his way to the end of the Hall of Honor, right down here. Let's go there now. At the end of it are these wooden doors. Those are the doors to the Parliamentary Library. Now, beside the library, these doors to the right is a small alcove protected by this pillar. And Bibeau tucks himself right in there and hides. Now, Kevin Vickers' office is just around the corner from this. Let me show you that. It's just a few feet away. He's in here and he hears the gunshots. He grabs his sidearm. It's an automatic pistol. He exits his office and he immediately runs toward the pillar here. His team behind him here yell that the suspect is tucked into the alcove. Vickers then perches himself on one side of the pillar. Bibeau's on the other side. They are literally an arm's length from each other just around the pillar. Sources tell CBC that the Sergeant-at-Arms could actually see the barrel of the gun sticking out from behind the pillar. But he doesn't hesitate. Kevin Vickers takes his sidearm, dives around the pillar to the ground. While he's in the air, he spins to land on his back, firing upwards at Bibeau, hitting Bibeau as he himself hits the ground. Then Bibeau drops, and Vickers continues to fire into Bibeau, emptying his entire clip. As soon as Bibeau hits the ground, the rest of the security team go in, and they too open fire. With this in mind, watch this now famous video shot by Josh Wingrove of the Globe and Mail of what exactly happened. You can actually hear Vickers' shots followed quickly by the parliamentary security team as they follow him in. Huge barrage of gunfire that we've all heard. Let me give you an idea of how many rounds were expended. If you look at that alcove today, this is what you would see. There are 9 bullet holes.
Dumbledore says
in the wall. This would be where Bibeau himself was standing, let alone the number of rounds that actually hit Bibeau. In fact, one bullet actually didn't even hit the alcove. It went right through the library doors, right into the library. That's a bullet hole in the desk of the library, deep inside the library. No one was injured. All right, what happened then? Vickers got up the ground. He calmly went back to his own office. He grabbed another clip for his gun to reload in case the threat remained. Then he walked back down the hall where the Prime Minister and the government was barricaded in their caucus room. He entered there. He went to a microphone, he explained the situation, and he said to them, "I have engaged the suspect. The suspect is now deceased." There was a huge round of applause from all members of the
this we knew was going to happen, of course. This is what we've been talking about for a very long time. As you can see here off the CBC, Public Safety Minister Stephen Blaney has got a look of determination and anger on his face. This slimy reptile has just beefed up this CSIS bill, right? The CSIS powers beefed up under new bill tabled by Stephen Blaney. Public Safety Minister says it's time to stop underreacting to the great threats against us. Now, I want to say this to all Canadians out there. There is absolutely no threats to you whatsoever except from your fucking government, okay? These scumbags like this guy, Stephen Blaney, are the threat to you, okay? You've got to understand this, and this is what I've been showing for the last few days, last week or so, showing the false flag events that they carried out here just outside of Montreal, and then, of course, right in Ottawa downtown at the War Memorial and then the Senate or the Parliament. And it's problem, reaction, solution, folks, because they were going to vote on this bill this week right when this shooting happened. And wouldn't you know it, now everyone's on board. So Public Safety Minister Stephen Blaney has tabled a bill in the House of Commons today to expand the powers of the Canadian Security Intelligence Canada Spy Agency. Bill C-44, dubbed the Protection of Canada from Terrorists. The protection of Canada from terrorists. Well, the terrorists that exist in Canada are in the fucking government, okay? Was expected to be introduced last week before a gunman launched an attack in the Capitol. Wouldn't you figure? I mean, it's just how it works, right? We see it all the time. There's always a bill that's ready to go. So the proposed legislation here amends the Canadian Security Intelligence Service Act, as well as strengthening Canadian Citizenship Act and making consequential amendment to the Access to Information Act. They're just tearing down the laws that protect us as citizens. Bill C-44, as CBC News reported earlier, amends the Canadian Security Intelligence Act to give greater protection to confidential sources without having to identify them in court proceedings, even to the judge. So you don't even have to, if they get somebody giving them sources about somebody up to something bad, they don't even have to tell the judge who the source is. They could just pull it out of their ass. Then give CSIS more powers of surveillance and detention to more effectively investigate threats to the security of Canada. So more power, more surveillance, the ability to detain people without any warrant, right? The ability to hold people against their will, against their legal rights. Then, of course, give Canada Spy Agency explicit authority to operate within or without outside Canada. This would allow the agency to share information on suspected Canadian terrorists abroad with members of the so-called Five Eyes group of countries that I always go on about: the US, the UK, Australia, New Zealand. This is exactly what's happening right across the Five Eyes and right across the Western world. All these governments are tabling the same type of legislation. It's uncanny, the resemblance that these legislations have. This is something that Up North of the 49th was touching on the other night on a big show that we have. I'll post the link for that show on the emergency roundtable discussion that we had dealing with this. It is beyond Orwellian where we are going as a state, Canada. And the criminals that created this farce are the ones that are going to benefit from the rights that they're going to destroy, from the powers that they're going to gain, right? These scumbags are evil beyond belief, Canada, and you cannot let them do this to you. Well, it's already being done. More anti-terrorism measures coming. Today's proposed legislation has not been altered following Wednesday's assault. Of course, because it was already all there in advance. On the National War Memorial in Canada's Centre Block, CBC has learned. CBC, good for nothing. Canadian Bullshit Corporation. The ultimate goal of the bill is to give authorities greater power to deal with some of the Canadians already on watch list who are considered most dangerous. I'm probably on that list, fuck. You know, it really is more about coming after people that are a threat to the government, and people that are a threat to the government are people that expose the government, folks. That's how it works. You expose what they're up to. You expose their dirty little false flags, their massive psyops, their incredibly criminal actions against the people of Canada. They are the ones that are terrorizing Canadians, not some fucking two-bit junkies from Quebec, you know, who managed to somehow leave a homeless shelter and get across the entire country and end up in the nation's capital with a gun. I don't know how that works. I don't know. Funny how that works, eh? Blaney told the House of Commons Monday that it is important for new public safety legislation to be an overreaction to the events such as the attacks on Ottawa and Quebec this week, but it is equally important for the Canadian government not to underreact to threats. Okay, so he said it's not an overreaction and that we can't underreact, right? So essentially they want to overreaction. It's an overreaction. It really is because, well, it's problem, reaction, solution, right? They have set up the problems, of course, the two false flags that they committed this week, and then they have the solution. They say, well, look, we're here. We've worked. It's just a coincidence, of course, that we've been working on this. That it applies directly to the false flags that we just carried out, and that we've convinced most of the House of Parliament they were under grave threat. The first responsibility of the government is to keep Canadians safe. Really, I think the first responsibility of this government is to keep themselves safe and in power. We will not overreact, but it's time to stop underreacting to the great threats against us, Blaney said during the question period on Monday. In addition to today's CSIS bills, Blaney said the federal government will also introduce further anti-terrorism measures. Further reforms to protect Canadians from terrorism, because we all know those terrorists, they're just coming over the border. You can't stop them, will be presented in a second forthcoming piece of legislation, Blaney said. It's done, Canada. You're losing your rights. It's, you know, anybody who's going to stand up to the government is just going to be locked up or taken out or whatever, right? Framed or blackmailed or all kinds of nastiness. This opens Pandora's box here, folks. These assholes have changed this country now. We're going to have to fight to get our rights back because they're going to be able to spy on everyone. And you Canadians that don't fucking pay attention, maybe I should think back to about 3 years ago when Vic Tays said, the minister there of safety, I think at the time, said, you know what? You're either with us or you're with the child pornographers. Do you remember that? Vic Tays, who was having an affair with some 18-year-old girl, and he's a 65-year-old, 67-year-old, I don't know how old he is, old geezer, right? And he said, you're either with us or you're with the child pornographers. And that was giving the right for CSIS or the police, the RCMP, to go into people's computers and spy on people without a warrant, essentially. This is what this government is doing to Canada, folks. You know, you're all sipping your Tim Hortons and watching your hockey, but you're not paying attention to what they're doing. I wonder what the comments here are. Okay, Enzo Ferrari. Okay, we have 3 new bills in 1 week. Bill C-13, anyone can get spied on without a warrant. That's the cyberbullying bill, of course. Bill C-44, anyone can get charged on fake evidence, and Bill C-60, no one will hear about it because the PM appoints the CBC executive. Welcome to democracy. Well, thank God we got people like Enzo here. You are on the ball. There's another one. Your humble narrator. It makes you wonder who you should be more afraid of, the terrorist or the Harper government, who never miss an opportunity to infringe on Canadian civil rights. I can tell you, hands down, 100%, without any fucking doubt, it's the Harper government that you should be way more afraid of. All right? Let's see this one here. By all means, let's overreact to events taken in Canada. A couple of strung out dudes get in the news, and let's shut down the entire country. I wouldn't support this strategy by a reasonable, intelligent government, let alone this abusive, none too bright bunch of incompetence. Yeah, you want a better Canada? AB 2015. You know what? It's nice to see that Canadians are, starting to wake up. Let's see the top comments here. All this evidence use Allow the use of evidence gleaned from confidential sources without having the identity, without having to identify them in court proceedings, even to a judge. Doesn't that provide the license to make up evidence of confidential sources? Hey, you know what? No Kool-Aid. I'm impressed by the Canadians here that are seeing what's going on. Imagine how you guys would feel if you knew what I knew, that this whole thing was staged in order to bring in this legislation. But I'm just happy to see that so many people can't stand the fucking Harper government. The Harper government is still insisting the attack in Ottawa is a terrorist issue and not a mental health issue. That is enough to tell me that there's another agenda here. Yeah, I hope all you people that are there can see what we've uncovered collectively as a group investigating this false flag, 100% false flag. There's a little bit of hope there in the comments for sure. But these people, these psychopaths will not stop until they squash anybody's chance to stand up against them. They are beyond evil. This is so awful. The entire government should fall. Please, people, do your best to share these videos. Do your best to share my work, PK22, everyone else that's working on this. So many great Canadians up north of the 49th Police State Radio. Please support us. Share this information. Post on the comments. Share the work that we're doing. Let Canadians know. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful day.